welcome back to another video, and in this video, we're talking about what the Lions should do with the running back position.
Oh, hold up, man. What is going on with your hair, bro? Hey, I'm getting a haircut Monday.
Bad too, but
what are you getting a haircut, my boy?
so let's get it started. We're talking about what the Lions should do with the running back position. Now, the running back position is really weird right now for the Detroit Lions. They had Trey Carson, who came in and played a pretty solid game for the Lions versus the Giants, but then he went down with an injury in practice, and it was something that was like, okay, he's limited. We'll see. Maybe it's just a week-to-week thing. I don't know what it is. But now he's on IR, and now we're really confused. Like, okay, wait a second. Take a step back. What the heck are we going to do with this running back position? Are we just going to do this or this? And now I have two options. There's really only two options that the Detroit Lions can do. It's either you have to stay with what you got, or you're going to have to go get a free agent running back. Now, I put together some options for both of those sides and some arguments on why both of those sides would make sense. So let's get started. First off, the Detroit Lions could stay with what they have. Now, the Lions did bring up Paul Perkins from the practice squad to the active roster. He's been there before. It's not like this guy's completely brand new to the system, so he does fit pretty well. We also have our rookie Ty Johnson, who we drafted out of this year's draft, and he was one of those guys that were kind of like, oh, you know, he may be our number 2 running back because Kerryon Johnson then went down. He kind of became the number 1 running back. And we also have J.D. McKissic, who we signed during the year, and it was like, okay, J.D. McKissic, yeah, that's cool, but he's done a lot of good things for us. J.D. McKissic is a guy who is averaging 6.8 yards per carry. Now, you may be saying, well, wow, if he's averaging that, he should just be our starter. Well, that's not necessarily the case because a lot of those yards have come on like trick plays. Like one of his carries are 44 yards. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? I mean, that's always a good thing. Not necessarily runs that are like a straight handoff out of the single back or whatever formation you're in. It's more like trick plays is where he has a lot of his yards, but he can run as a regular running back. So he does have 6.8 yards per carry, 108 yards on 16 carries. But again, not all of those are just like a regular running back kind of thing. Now, Ty Johnson, on the other hand, he's played more running back, and he may even have a bigger opportunity this weekend because at this time, it's too late. Right? You're not going to go get a free agent running back. You are with what you have for now, but I'm talking like long-term, like through the rest of the season. Ty Johnson so far has 30 carries for 108 yards. Now, that's not great. I believe it is 3.6 yards per carry. I think that's that quick math. Like, I don't know. It's not quick math. I saw it before. It's not quick math. Trust me, I'm not that smart. I didn't get my calculator out this time because I didn't have to. But either way, that might not be right. I don't know. Ty Johnson, either way, you can see he plays more running back. He's going to have a big opportunity this weekend, and I'm really curious to see how he plays. I would love to see him get a lot of touches so we can really get a good feel for, okay, here's what our run game looks like when Ty Johnson gets a lot of carries. And I would love to see him get on the edge, a couple of screen passes, things like that, like what we did with Kerryon versus the Chargers. I mean, it all depends on who you're playing, but it would be interesting to see him get out in a little bit of space. Obviously, Paul Perkins, like I said, he hasn't had a really big role, but he has been on the Lions for a couple of games now. So that is your first option. Your first option is stick with what you have. But the second option, and maybe the more interesting option, is to go sign a free agent running back. Now, there's a lot of free agents. I mean, there is probably 50 free agent running backs that we could go sign. I mean, there's probably even more than that. The Detroit Lions could bring one of those guys in, and one guy that they have worked out recently is Jay Ajayi. Now, Jay Ajayi was not going to be signed this weekend because of our game, but there is a chance he gets signed after this weekend, especially if we win, to go bring in another running back and help out this running game a little bit. At least we hope so. Now, Jay Ajayi is the guy that is injury prone. Okay, he has had to deal with injuries, and I jokingly say, even though it's kind of unfortunate, he would fit in pretty well with how our team has been so far. Okay, we've dealt with a lot of injuries, but Jay Ajayi in his career has been just about a 4 yards per carry kind of guy. Okay, in his best season back in 2016, he had 4.9 yards per carry, where he had over 1,200 rushing yards. But again, he's injury prone, and that's the one thing that comes back. That's the one reason you look at him, you're like, I don't know about that one. Now, again, you could look at the rest of the running backs and be like, yeah, well, they're all injury prone, so who cares? Or you could say, well, then we should stop bringing in guys that are like that. But I don't know necessarily what it is. It could just be unlucky, and maybe if we bring him in, he never gets hurt. There's always a chance you run that risk. Even with a guy that's never been hurt before, you could bring in a guy that's been healthy throughout his entire career. Well, that might just mean he's due, and he might get hurt when he comes in. I don't know. There's just stuff like that happens. It's unfortunate, but you really can't control any of that. But again, there is a better chance of getting injured again, usually if you've already been injured once. So he is the first option. I think Mark Thompson is a really good option right now. Now, before I talk about Mark Thompson too much, I know a lot of people want to see Zach Zenner. Right now, he is currently on the Arizona Cardinals, so let me just tell you guys that right now. I understand if he's released, okay, but I think this guy would make a lot of sense. This is actually a free agent. It's Mark Thompson. I would love to bring in Mark Thompson. This guy played with us in the preseason. He was really good in the preseason, at least in my eyes. He's a strong running up, powerful running back. He's going to bring a different mix to the running back group we currently have. Look at our running backs. J.D. McKissic, okay, Paul Perkins, Ty Johnson. These aren't big bruisers. No, but Mark Thompson is. So I think he would give you that mix that the Lions have kind of tried to go for a few times. Now maybe they're like, okay, that doesn't work. We're going to go with Bevel. Bevel doesn't want that. But they've tried, right? They've tried. They brought in C.J. Anderson. No, that didn't work. They brought in LeGarrette Blount. That didn't work. So maybe Mark Thompson is a guy. He's a young player out of Florida who I really liked in the preseason, and he already knows the offense pretty well. So I think that would make sense. Also, I know some people brought up Alex Collins. Now, Alex Collins is actually going to be suspended for 3 games because he was arrested recently, so that's unfortunate. I do have some of his numbers here. Career-wise, he has 387 carries for 1,509 yards, which is 4.2 yards per carry and 14 touchdowns. But again, 3-game suspension. And finally, I put Doug Martin in here because I've talked about him before. Doug Martin, who in his career has over 1,300 carries, over 5,000 rushing yards, a 4.1 yard per carry kind of guy, and 30 touchdowns. So those are his career stats, not one season. If that was one season, bring him this way. But those are really a couple of options. Now, there's definitely other ones out there. You can go get a young man. You can go get a rookie. You can go get veterans. There's a lot of guys out there, but the one option that we do not have anymore is going to trade it for another running back because the trade deadline has passed. So I think there's definitely a case to be made for both sides. I think there's good and there's bad. You know, you bring in a new running back, they have to learn the system. It may not pan out well, but it does give you an opportunity to get a really good running back. At the same time, if you don't bring in another running back, you can give maybe your guys more confidence that you believe in them. They're more used to the offense, and maybe they'll continue to grow because a lot of these guys are young players, especially Ty Johnson, and he will get more opportunities if you probably don't bring in another running back. So that is where I fling it over to you guys. What would you do with the running back position? I think it'll be interesting to see what the Lions do if they win this Sunday for the next week, if they bring in someone else or they don't. That should be really interesting to see. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What would you do? Personally, I wouldn't have a problem with sticking with what we have, but at the same time, I would love bringing in a free agent. I think Mark Thompson would be a great fit for us, but it doesn't seem super likely because we haven't had any talks about it, but you never know. I mean, stuff just comes up randomly. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you guys for watching. You guys are awesome. It is Saturday night, so I'm hyped, okay? It's not Red Bull. I promise it's not Red Bull. I'm just hyped because it's Saturday, and tomorrow's football. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.